This is Odin's Wolf Survival, and this is a bone needle that I made with some cattail cord for a project that I got coming up. I decided I was going to try a wood needle. This is a bit of Osage and my Swiss Army knife, the Ranger model, I do believe. It has what I consider necessary, the two blades. It's got the saw and the file in there, which I find the file is really handy. It's got a little wood chisel back here, which is kind of an aggressive little thing. You got to be kind of careful with it, but it does work. This is one of those things that I really like for carrying around. It's got pretty much what you need in there for making stuff like this. Okay, split out a piece of wood, preferably a harder wood, especially if you're going to use it for any length of time. This is, like I said, this is Osage. This is really hard and it's old and dry. And you just sit here and I cut a length longer. I'm going to make the needle probably about this long, but cut it longer than what you need. It's a lot easier to hang on to it as you're working it down. So you just carve your needle out as you go along. Take it down to what you want. Okay, the eye's through. Take a little bit of time to clean the hole up. That's where a bit of coarse cord or something like that you could rub through there. It'll polish up as you're using it also. But if you take your cord and dip it in a fine sand, it'll act like a little bit of sandpaper if you're worried about it. Okay, once you get it to this point, you can take the rest of it and use your file and your knife, or if you don't have one, this is just a piece of sandstone that I found in the area. And this is what they used to use to polish up stuff like this. You take your tip down even further than what it is. You don't need a needle point on these. They were generally used with an awl. You make a bone awl or something along that line to poke holes in your leather, and the brain tan to be like flannel. It's not like modern shoe leather. So you could easily get a hole in it and you'd be sewing it with sinew or some sort of thread that you made. But when you're out, if you're out in the bush and you're stuck somewhere and you need to sew something up, making a steel needle of the size that we're used to, if you don't have one, is nearly impossible. Although, as you can see, you can make one of these in a few short minutes. You know, I think in reality this will take me 15 or 20 minutes to do something like this once you have the bit, if that long. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but a little bit you can clean it up. Then you come through here, take your stone, whatever you're resting it on. Like I said, this stuff is hard, so it doesn't cut all that easy. nice yellow pretty wood. It'll turn orange as it sits out in the sun, but you cut it off. Gather your needle up, and as you go, you can work this out. You want to round the back of the edges off so it doesn't grab in what you're pulling it through. You can see the holes in there. It'll take, you can make cordage of that size. It'll easily go through there. And then you start sewing up whatever you need to sew up. But that's a wood needle in comparison to a bone needle. They both work. I've got horn needles. Same thing, same sort of horn. You just take a piece, knock a piece out, break a piece out, however you want to do it. Cut a piece, carve it the same way. You can carve it with stone. You don't have to use modern. If you don't have a knife, you can actually make something like this with stone. They did for eons. But these are simple needles. They're not too bad to make. They're a little bit more, usage on them is a little bit trickier. You've got to think a little bit more on, instead of just shoving it straight through like you can most modern needles. They're thin. You've got to think about how you do things a little bit more, but they work.